Now, next what we have Ricky Aiken, who was our keynote speaker. He's from Inner City Innovators. Ricky Aiken is the founder and executive director of Inner City Innovators. He has made it his life's mission to inspire and empower inner city youth to embody the change so desperately needed in their communities. Ricky is a boots on the ground, all-in agent of change who believes that real change happens when the people who need it lead it. All right, guys? So right there, the people who need it lead it, all right? As a child raised in the inner city of West Palm Beach, Ricky has seen firsthand the plights associated with growing up in communities of concentrated disadvantage. He has suffered homelessness, witnessed familial addiction, lost friends to gun violence, and was expected to be another statistic. In fact, he admits to being well on his way to fulfilling that destiny until he vowed to change his trajectory of his life. Well known in the West Palm Beach community for his community activism, Aiken has found a way to use his life experiences and social capital to bring hope to his neighborhood and promote the value of resilience. As a celebrated speaker and mentor, he has big plans for the inner city and is working hard to change the image and climate of inner cities. So please, you all, help me welcome Mr. Ricky Aiken, all right?
Come on. I see no changes. Wake up in the morning and I ask myself, is life worth living? Should I blast myself? I'm tired of being poor and even worse, I'm black. My stomach hurts, so I'm looking for a purse to snatch. Cops give a damn about a Negro. Pull a trigger, killing, he's a hero. Get it to the kids who the hell cares. One less hungry mouth on the welfare. First ship them, don't let them.
Y'all know who sing that song? Who? Tupac. There we go. I love Tupac, y'all. He had this one quote that he said. He said, I might not change the world, but I guarantee you I will inspire the mind that does. And that's why I'm here today. When the future leaders asked me if I would come be a part of this conference, I said yes. I didn't even have to think about it. Because there's nothing more important to me than inspiring the minds of future leaders. And each one of y'all out there today are future leaders, even if you don't believe it right now. I know some of y'all sitting there, you probably having a rough time in school, rough time at home, and you got a million things going on in your life, and it's hard for you to see yourself right now as a future leader. But I can guarantee you, you are. My man Wilson, you are. All of you are. Let me tell y'all a little bit about myself because I'm the unlikeliest person you'd ever expect to see doing something like this. The most unlikeliest person. See, when I was your age, I was that one kid always getting in trouble. I was the class clown. I was the one that my teachers always looked and said, that boy there's a knucklehead. And I was in a lot of ways. But today, I'm getting to do what I do. He mentioned a little bit about what I do. And I run an organization called Inner City Innovators. And our mission at Inner City Innovators is to end gun violence. To end gun violence, especially the gun violence that's killing our youth. What's the age of the oldest person here? About 18, 19 out of the youth? Most of the young people, 22. Oh, we got 22, good. Let me tell y'all a story about a young man that kind of got me on the path that I'm on now. And then I'll tell you more about myself. So go back with me a few years. We're gonna go back to the summer of 2015. All right? The summer of 2015 was one of the deadliest summers in my community. It's like each week during the summer, another young person, I'm talking around your ages, was killed due to gun violence. I'm talking every week. Imagine every week you hearing about somebody you know that's been killed, somebody you know that's been shot, somebody you know that's seen someone get shot. So me and my friends were hearing about that, and we decided to do something about it. So we got a few of the young men that we worked with, and we went to a community forum that one of my favorite city leaders, Commissioner Corey Nearing, and another commissioner put on. They wanted to know what was going on in the community. Why were these shootings, why was this violence happening? So we went, me and my crew, we brainstormed amongst ourselves about what we felt the most pressing issues were, and we spoke about it. And I remember after we spoke, a news reporter was so impressed with what we said, that they wanted to do a news story. And we were excited. And I had this one young man in my group in particular. His name was Johnny. Johnny was a very special young man. Johnny came from a very rough background, but you could never tell because he always had a smile on his face. No matter how hard his life was, he was always smiling and bringing joy to those around him. Johnny was at that meeting with us. He was with us in that news story where we were talking about the changes that we wanted to see in our community. Johnny was 19 years old. He had recently finished high school, and Johnny wanted to go off to the military. That was his plan. But Johnny was from the hood, so most of his friends were from the hood. So those were the people he hung out with. And so one day, a week or two after speaking at this summit on why the gun violence was happening, Johnny was walking home from the store with a group of his friends. Now, it was probably a Wednesday afternoon around 2 o'clock. You know, him and his friends, they went in the store, they got their snacks, and they're walking down the street chilling, headed back to the house. And as soon as they get near the house they were going to, a car pulls up. The car pulls up. I'm sure they're curious. Who is that? What's going on? So they look. The window rolls down. They're not expecting nothing of it. Once the window gets down, an assault rifle comes out. The assault rifle goes off. Johnny Davis and one of his friends were murdered on that day. 2 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon, walking home from the store with a group of his friends. See, when the news talks about the type of shootings that you guys see on the news, things happening in Chicago and Baltimore, and they talk about these communities, inner cities, hoods, it's like it's a normal thing for young black men to be gunned down. It's like it's a normal thing for minorities to be victimized by and to shoot and participate in gun violence. Nobody was thinking through how to stop it because they didn't think change was possible. They weren't living in our communities, so they didn't have to care about what was going on. And if they don't care, why would they have to do anything about it? See, Johnny's death hurt me the most because he was my friend. He was my mentee. He was someone that I knew and I worked with over the years. And when he died, I remember thinking to myself, his death cannot be just another death. He can't be just another young black male dead. I won't allow that. And you could imagine what I'm thinking. I can't do anything about this. I can't do anything about this. And let me tell you why I thought that. See, when I was a kid, I was raised by my grandmother. I was raised by my grandmother. You want to know why? Because my mother struggled with crack addiction, and my father wasn't involved in my life. I remember as a kid coming home and going to school and seeing people with their parents, and I always wondered, why don't I live with my mom? Where's my dad? Now, my grandmother loved me. She loved me to death. There was no question about how much she loved me. But my grandmother had a problem. You want to know what that problem is? That problem was alcoholism. She loved to drink. And when she would drink, she didn't drink like normal people. See, when most people, when they drink, they'll either go to a bar on the weekend after they put in a hard week of work, or they'll have dinner with their families, they'll grab a drink, but not my grandma. See, when my grandma drank, she would drink and drink and drink for no less than a week at a time. No less than a week at a time. She would be drunk, I think the most, up to 3 weeks continually, just drinking, drinking, drinking. And when she drank, she didn't just drink and stay in the house. My grandma would drink, she'd come on the porch, she'd turn the music up real loud, and she'd dance. She'd dance. I don't know why, but she loved to dance. She loved to drink and dance. So it was my grandma just dancing while drunk. So imagine what my friends were saying to me about my grandma. You know when you got somebody in your family and people see that and then they pick on you for it? That's how it was growing up. And not only did she drink and she danced, but she liked to curse people out. She would curse you out. If you walked by my grandma's porch and you looked at her the wrong way, she would curse you out. And then if you talk back to her, she'd go inside and she'd get her gun. So my grandmother was that crazy lady. So when I was in elementary school, I remember going to school. Every day on my way to school, another thing my grandma did, I would get picked on about. So I was that kid that people always had something to pick on about. I wasn't living with my mom. I didn't know my dad. My grandmother was the lady that drank. Now my grandmother had 7 children, all my aunts and uncles. She had 7 children. And throughout their lifetime, every last one of her children struggled with drug addiction or alcoholism. So imagine growing up, your grandmother's that lady that does embarrassing things. You don't live with your mom. You don't know where your dad is. And all your aunts and uncles are either on drugs, drinking, and impoverished. See, I didn't feel very strong growing up. I didn't feel like a leader. I didn't feel like someone that could make a difference about anything. And let's go a little deeper with my mom. See, my mom had 4 boys. I'm the 3rd one. Both of my older brothers dropped out of high school to sell drugs. So when you're growing up in a family and your father's not around and you don't have that positive influence that you need in your life, you naturally look to an older brother or an older cousin or an older family member. And my older brothers happened to be drug dealers. So guess what I wanted to be when I grew up? Drug dealer. See, there's this saying that I like, and it's unfortunate, but it says, children will be what they see. They'll be what they see. So whatever we're exposed to the most, that's what we'll have the inclination to become. So that was my life growing up. My family was destroyed by drugs, alcohol, and poverty. And when I went to school, it was no better. I remember in school, as early as 3rd grade, I was labeled as being emotionally handicapped and as having a slow learning disability. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the lie that I believed about myself was that it made me different, less smart than the other students. So I didn't apply myself in school. At that point, I was just waiting until I was old enough to do what my older brothers had done, and that's drop out of school to sell drugs. See, when I first started getting in trouble, I was around your age. I was probably in about 6th or 7th grade. And that's when I started building my friendships with people who I felt were like me. And my friends had all come from my community. We all knew each other through elementary school. But this is when we became kind of like a clique. Kind of like a clique. We started getting in trouble today. And that trouble began to escalate. It started out with us stealing out of the store, getting in fights after school. And it escalated till in high school, those little squabbles that we got in at school, they started happening in the community. And instead of it ending with fists, they ended with bullets. I remember one night in particular, me and a group of my friends were down on 6th Street near Tamron, and we were fighting some guys from down there. One of the guys ran off to get a gun. We didn't know. We were engaged in a fist fight. When this guy comes back, one of the young ladies who was there, she screams, "He got a gun, he got a gun." We hear her, and we all break to run. A group of my friends ran that way, and me and 2 others ran this way. This guy comes back with the gun. He aims the gun at the direction of me and my friends running. Me, Monkman, G-Fat. And we're running, and he shoots. And you hear the gun go off, but the scariest thing wasn't the gun going off. It was the bullets whispering by my head. Phew, phew, bang, hitting the stop sign in front of me. See, when I was young, I wanted to be tough. I wanted to be hard. I wanted to be like 50 Cent so much that my friends used to call me Ricky Cent. Yeah. When I walked to the corner store, the older D-boys still call me Ricky Cent. That's how bad I wanted to be like 50 Cent. Who knows what happened to 50 Cent? He got shot 9 times. So guess what I wanted to happen to me? Not 9 times. But I thought it would be cool to get shot because it would give me credibility. That's how foolish I was, that I thought getting shot would be a cool thing to do because that's what my favorite rapper did. So I remember running, and I remember how tough I would act. We walked down there, we fought these guys. I was always fighting with and for my friends. I was about it. I felt like I was about that life. But when that bullet flew by my head, all that toughness, all that hardness went straight out the window. I wasn't running like, yeah. I was running like, oh, Jesus, please don't let this bullet hit me. Dear Jesus, please don't let this bullet hit me. Dear Jesus, please don't let this bullet hit me. Dear Jesus, please don't let this bullet hit me. See, that's the reality of life, y'all. In life, we try to put on, we try to act tough, we try to act hard, but we all have the same fears at the end of the day. So that wasn't the first time that had happened. That was a recurring basis or theme because of the things we were getting involved with. My friends would shoot at people, we get shot at. We get into fights. And those things were happening. But what I see is that the gun violence in our community started to increase. Young people like us started getting more and more access to guns. So a few years later, I dropped out of school, and that was my life for a little bit. Until I had some people come into my life and show me another side of life. They showed me something different. See, the thing about life is the most important thing about you is how you view it. And at the time, this is what I was looking at life through. This was my paradigm. This was the lens through which I saw life. What's up with this? It's screwed up, right? It's twisted. This ain't the right way, right? I had some people come into my life, remove the broken lens through which I was seeing the world, and show me how the world really worked. See, when you come from where I come from, the hood, your brothers are dope dealers, family members addicts, you listen to the rap music, and you think that that's the way life really works. You think that's the way life really is, but it's not. That's the lie. But I believed it. So these people came into my life, they mentored me, and they showed me the way, and I ended up going back and getting my GED. Then I went on to EMT school to become an emergency medical technician because I wanted to be a fireman. And I remember right after graduating from EMT school, my life looked a little different. See, my mom saw the change that was happening in my life. My brother saw the change that was happening in my life. My mom ended up going to rehab. My mom went to rehab and cleaned her life up. My little brother would go on to become the #1 point guard in the state of Florida. He went on to be the starting shooting guard at the University of Cincinnati, and now he's a professional basketball player in Brazil. I saw my life began to change based on some decisions I started making when I was a little bit older than you. See, now I began thinking, if my life could change, this same change can happen in the life of my friends. So I started working at that organization that helped me out. And I was always involved. I love working with young people because I felt like, in a way, with helping young people, I was helping people who were like my friends. So now fast forward to the summer of 2015. I was telling y'all about Johnny. And this particular summer, now all this gun violence was happening. Young people were being shot at, young people were being killed, young people were going to prison. And we're seeing this happen in our community. Now before, I never felt like a leader. I never felt like I had anything to offer. But there is one thing that I did know. I knew why this gun violence was happening. I knew who was being affected. And I cared. Because I wasn't just watching the news and seeing somebody somewhere else get killed. These were my friends that were being killed. So I cared. And I realized that unless I stood up to do something about it, no one else would. So after losing my young friend Johnny, I organized a peace march. And hundreds of people showed up in my community to march with me. And we marched for peace in the streets, peace in our community. And we wanted to let the people in our community know that if change is going to come, it's going to have to come through us. My favorite line is what he said earlier, is that real change happens when the people who need it lead it. Real change happens when the people who need it lead it. Real change happens when? Real change happens when? Real change happens when? That's how it happens. So after losing Johnny, the next year comes up, right? It's the next summer. And it's going to be another deadly summer if we don't do something about it. So me and my friends organized a proactive peace march. And let me tell you, I knew nothing about marches than what I learned on YouTube and Google. But we organized a proactive peace march where we did it in the beginning of the summer instead of at the end. And we did it to wake people up and let them know that if we don't begin to do something about this gun violence, we're going to have the same kind of summer we had last year. Just like we lost Johnny, we're going to lose someone else. And not only did we do that, we started mentoring some of our younger peers. We started working with city leaders to create jobs programs. And we're doing all these things to try to stop the violence in our community. Then the end of the summer gets there. I get a call from a news reporter. And she says, we've been watching you all work throughout the summer. And you know, last year, there were about 12 murders of young people in your community, a small community. But because of your work, there's been a difference. We went from 12 murders the year before to getting through the next summer with 0 murders. We went from 12 murders to 0. And listen, y'all, I didn't go to college. I didn't have any experience in the change that I sought to bring to my community. All I had was my perspective, the way I saw the world, the way I saw life. All I had was my heart, how I felt about the situation. And all I had was my hands to act, to do something about it. See, there are many of you today who don't realize that a lot of why you go through what you do in life is to prepare you for what you're created to do in this world. See, a lot of you can sit there, and I know your mindset is, I wish this dude would shut up so I can go get something to eat. Some of y'all are like, I wish this day would hurry up and go over so I can go play Fortnite. I know many of your minds are in different places, But I know that there are some of y'all who are looking and you're listening. There's some of y'all that are connecting. There are some of y'all that see if this guy with no education, no nothing, can bring the change that he brought to his community, imagine what I could do. See, that's not the only thing I did. I also ran for city commissioner here in West Palm Beach. No college education, no political experience, no political backing at all, yet I came in second place with 4,000 votes. And speaking of being a boss, I said, you know what? I love my community and I love what I do. How about I make a job out of it? So I started my own nonprofit with no business experience, no prior education, but I'm learning every single day how to be a better leader. See, there's a theme in my life. There's a theme that I want you guys to pick up on, because if you could pick up on this now, nothing will ever stop you. And here's the thing. I don't limit myself by what I don't have. I don't limit myself by what I don't have. And I don't see my past as something that makes me weaker than anyone else. I see it as something that makes me stronger. That's what drives everything I do. And if you all can get that today, it's as simple as this. Some of you got a choice right here, right now, about your approach to life. Once I knew how much I loved my friends and how much I was tired of seeing them die in the streets of our community, once I realized that young men being killed by young men was the #1 cause of death for young black men, that made me passionate about putting an end to it. But I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing now if I hadn't taken the old paradigm off. If I didn't take off the old way of seeing things, the limiting way. You know the voices in your head. Oh, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. You ain't smart enough. You got a bad grade in math. You ain't got a job. You know that negative voice in your head? You too fat. You're not fast enough. Your hair is not long enough. Your skin's too dark. You're from another country. Once you begin to see that who you are and what you've gone through makes you stronger, you stop seeing your past as chains and you start seeing it as the source of your strength. So today, y'all, while y'all are here at this youth conference, you guys are going to be learning how to be future leaders. There's some very important people in this building who have very important things to pour into you. But what they have to say means nothing if you don't take it in. So I want to challenge you all today. I want to challenge y'all to take this opportunity to search within yourself, to throw off all the lies that you believe that limits your life and makes you think that you can't create change. I want you to throw it all off, and I want you to mark today as a new day. When Johnny died, I marked a new day in my community. I said no longer will young black men and boys be killed and no one cares or does anything about it. So I stepped up to do something about it. See, each of you are aware of changes that you want to see in this world. Each of you have friends that are in and out of prison. Just like we talked about earlier, people that you know that can't vote because they don't have the rights. You have people struggling with immigration. You guys see the change in the world. And I want to inspire you through my story that the change that you see is needed. You have to be the one to lead it. Nobody else is going to come in to make your life better or easier. It's on us to do it. So I hope that you guys were inspired by what you heard. If I can do the change that I've done in my community, you guys are young, you guys are smart, and you guys got a whole life ahead of you. I know and I'm convinced that you all will do exceedingly more than I would have ever imagined for any of you. So remember this, y'all. Real change happens when the people who need it lead it. Thank you.
That's just the way it is. Things will never be the same. That's just the way it is.